big hello to everybody and most welcome to this event. And we're very happy to share the two cases that we will be sharing today with you. We're quite enthusiastic about it. I would like to say that today what we're doing is a lot of our base work from where we started and began. Today we have an entire system developed on trying to find remedies from plant, mineral, or animal kingdom. And this system, we now call it as the Joshies Map. Yes, the M standing for the mineral remedies, the A for the animal, and the P for the plants. When we created this map, we didn't know the map would mean that. But then when we looked at the map, we thought it's a good word. It's like a map that we have to navigate into materia medica. And then we realized that the three words of the map encompass all the three kingdoms together. So that was just so amazing. And our system basically entails bringing all the remedies of materia medica on one single grid of the periodic table. So you could compare mineral remedies, plant and animals on this one grid. And it's an amazing concept that we haven't invented at all. I would say the patients started getting better. We started seeing connections between plant, mineral, and animal remedies. And that's how the system has been brought or been discovered by us, I think it's always been there. It's a universal feature. It's a universal truth, or it's a truth of the universe. Let's put it like that. It's just that we were the channel through which it got discovered. This is how Suchindra and I like to really feel it, because it's developed through clinical experience of the last 22 years. So that's about our system, and that's about the whole thing. But today specifically, and we have about 8 books on all our work over these last 20 to 25 years. But what we are going to focus on are 2 cases from 2 different books of ours. And these cases or these books are on the radar software. I'm sorry.
That's the fundamental basis of the book.
Yeah. So, and these are the cases, or these are the fundamentals on which we have worked and slowly developed our entire system. Now, the first case that I do want to share with you is about this woman. I want to show you the pictures. It's this young woman who came to us with very, very severe urticaria. And I want to show you some of the pictures. It was almost on the entire body, not a single part that was not left. And she was in real pain. You can see some of these hives. You can see how red they are. And they were all over her body. There was, there was burning, there was itching. And it would start exactly in the night. These eruptions, the urticarial eruptions, would start off in the night, would stay all night, and in the day it would still be there, but it would not be so itchy. But throughout the day, this is how she looked. This is when she came to me even in the clinic, and you can see how the entire face is, and that's some other parts of her body. This is all before the remedy. She is I cannot share the rest of the pictures because it's more private, but these are some which she allowed me to share. And she had also tried very severe antihistaminics. She had tried anti-allergics, also steroids had been given to her, and they would settle, but then it would come back, or they would settle only up to 40–50%. And so I would say she was in a lot of pain. She had also tried homeopathy. She'd also tried some homeopathy with us, because as I was trying to understand her case and trying to get information out of her, I had tried to give her some local remedies, and I tried to give her Bovista and Apis and, urticaria urines also, and Rustox, and lots of different remedies that either I knew were good for urticaria or that I repertorized and came to the symptoms. But something like apis, the queen of urticarial remedies and skin rashes and burning, and nothing could help her at all till I understood her real personality. So it took me a couple of consultations, and the reason for that was because she would come to the clinic, and apart from giving these 2 or 3 symptoms, which is that the itching was more in the night, and that it was very itchy, dry, and it was burning, and apart from these, she wouldn't say anything. Now, when I asked her, tell me any stresses that you have, because we all know urticaria is related to stresses, that's one thing. But we also know that in homeopathy, we need to understand the personality. And what better way to understand the personality than understanding the stresses of a person? And every time I asked her, she would then just sit blank. She would look at me with these eyes like, what do I say more? You know? And so a couple of times her mother was with me in the consultation, and I thought maybe it's because of the mother. She's young, she's 24, she doesn't want to speak in front of her mother. And in fact, in the consultation, when she and her mother were there, the mother would start saying, and then she would follow. Um, so then what I did is I let the mother go out, and I said, please, I need to talk to the girl alone. And then every time I spoke alone to the girl, she was blank, almost like she didn't know what to say. I really felt like taking that rubric, speak does not, or something like this. And then I started to ask her simple questions. I said, tell me about your work. She's a graphic designer. um, I said, tell me about your work. And she says, it's okay. I mean, this is something that I could manage to do, and I had finished my graduation, so I'm doing it. And I said, tell me something about your friends. And she would say, I have friends. And then I would say, yeah, so what do you like about talking with them? Tell me about your interactions with them. And she'd say, it's normal. What do I tell you? And then, so this went on for 2 or 3 consultations, which is when, I was trying with Apis, I was trying with Bosta and Urtica and Cantaris and Rostox, and you can name it, yeah? And I thought, let me give these local remedies till I try to understand her as a person. But none of them ever helped. And I thought, how do I understand this woman who hardly even talks? And I thought, in the 3rd consultation when she came, I thought, well, maybe that is the way she is. I'm trying to dig for something, but well, maybe that is the personality. So the next time that she came in the consultation and she sat in front of me, I said, so tell me, I said, is it okay for you if yeah. So I had also always seen that if I started a sentence, she would complete it, you know. So I started literally with that observation. I said, I've often seen that I start saying something and then you complete it. Like I say, okay, so everything in with your friends is good. And she'll say, yeah, everything is good. There is no problem, something like this. So I said, can you tell me a little bit more about this? That you said you take time to talk to friends. You like friends, but you don't talk much. And that, I'm starting something here and then you follow it up. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And that's when she said, I want to talk. I like to talk and communicate, but I don't know what. And so I said, tell me a little bit about this more. I don't know what. And she said, I don't know. I want to talk. I want to do something, but it's okay. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to start talking to all the people. I don't know how it works. This is exactly the style in which she was talking. And I thought, this is peculiar. This itself must be the personality. So I said, okay, you don't know what to say or you don't know how to communicate, but you do feel like. She says, yes, I want to, and that's why I'm in a group of friends, or that's why, and she says, I love my mother and we have a very supportive family. And my mother says, tell me what you want. And I tell her, but this is how she spoke, and I do this. So my mom can, she'll push me, she'll give me a little bit of a push. She ushers me to do things, and then I start doing it. So I asked her, what is it that you're feeling? Do you need support? Do you need your mother's support here? Do you need me to tell you what it is? And she says, yeah, the thing is, I want to do it on my own, but I don't know what to say. I don't know which path to take. I I can't decide. This is how she spoke to me in the consultation. This girl, very sweet, simple there. And I thought, it's not that she is not telling me. She is telling me she does not know. She wants to. She wants to be known. She wants to communicate. She wants to share. She wants to be part of a group. She wants to express, but she does not know. Now, I just took this much, this understanding that here is a person. What does she want out of life? What is she needing? She needs to communicate. She needs to show herself. She needs to be with the others. She definitely needs this and wants this. When somebody needs and wants and expresses that they want to communicate or want to share or be part of a group, this is the basic feeling of the third row of the periodic table. Today, I call it as the third level of human development. Uh, if if you know the periodic table, then it's about the 7 rows and 18 columns. This is just the regular periodic table. Now, each row of the periodic table is, I would say, we have given a level of human development, or you could say each row of the periodic table expresses a level of human development. The first row expresses more conception. The second expresses the stage of dependence and separation. The third row of the periodic table, with remedies like natrium, magnesium, phosphorus, silica, muriaticum, sulfur. This is the row that talks about the identity, the communication, the ego of the human development. The fourth row talks about a youth stage where a person wants to secure, provide, work hard, like the metals of the fourth row of the periodic table, like the Kali, cuprum, ferrum, arsenicum. The fifth row talks about shining, doing something different. That's the level of development. And the sixth row talks about power engulfing and dictating others, or even being responsible for the others. That's the sixth row. The seventh is a very beautiful row that actually connects back to the first row. And the periodic table, therefore, according to Sachendra and me, is not a linear square, but it's actually a complete circle, where the seventh row is about destruction and going back to conception. That's how it all completes. And this is all there in the first book, which is also in Radar, the book Homeopathy and Patterns in the Periodic Table. All this information is in that book. Now, coming back to this girl. So I had decided that she's in the third level of human development. She wants to find her identity. She wants to know who she is, and she wants to express who she is. Which column in the periodic table is she. So the levels of human development are along the rows of the periodic table, and within each row there are 18 different ways in which a human behaves, and her behavior was according to the third column of the periodic table in the third row. So she was column 3 and she was also level 3. And that is where you have alumina. If you just look at, I'm sharing the table right here. And if you look at alumina, yeah, this entire table, all of this is there in the Radar Opus software, our book. So alumina or aluminium is in the third column and the third level, where aluminum has this feeling, I know I must have an identity, I must express, I want to communicate, but I'm confused. I don't know how. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Now, alumina is not really a remedy you would think of for hives or urticaria. But here I was with our understanding of alumina. This is the way Sachindra and I look at aluminium. Okay, I will share with you what we have written in the book about aluminium. But before that, I do want to show you what happened to her. I want to show you the follow-up. She was given alumina 200. So aluminium is the metal in the periodic table. The remedy we have is aluminum oxide, which is alumina. And that's exactly what I gave her. I gave her alumina 200 every 15 days. This was the repetition. Alumina 200, one dose was given every 15 days because obviously, as you can see, this was very severe. This is one of the external parts where it's not as bad and I can show you. Yeah. And this is the girl after the treatment. Within a month, almost all the hives had cleared, but this is not after a month. This is after a couple of months. Yeah. But I gave her alumina 200 once every 15 days, which is twice a month. And that's all. Huh? This is all she needed. We stopped all anti-allergics, no steroids, no antihistamines, nothing. Just alumina 200. And she needed that twice a month for the next about 3 months till she settled beautifully. After which, sporadically or in, sometimes in between, as she would come for a follow-up, she had traveled, something would worsen and she had a slight flare, she would come. So for a year, I saw her till completely she was cured of this problem. The treatment was over. She had no other recurrences and she was completely free of this problem. That's her. You can see her face is absolutely clear, and so was every other part of her body. Now, this is what you see in radar in the repertory. So you can see repertorization gives you apis. It also gives you arsenicum. If you can show the black one, no? No. And this is alumina from Allen's that I want to show you before I go to my understanding. Skin dry, rough chap. Yeah. Bleeding hands and arms, forearms. Okay, let's go next. Intolerable itching on the whole body. Scratches until the skin bleeds, then it's painful. Getting warm in bed, and this was exactly how it was. Late in the evening, getting warm in bed, and she would scratch it all night. Interestingly, alumina is not there in the repertorization, but you see it in the materia medica. Okay, so that's that. That's the book. That's our book, Homeopathy and Patterns in the Periodic Table. It's all about the minerals of the first 3 rows. Now here you see what we have written in alumina in the periodic table. Alumina patients appear confused, doubtful, and ambiguous, always in 2 minds, not sure. Should I do this? Should I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that? And so on. The thing is that alumina does not know if they can make the decision. This is the thing. They don't So they cannot decide. They don't know if they have the power to decide, if they have the capacity to decide. And that is the reason why they appear so confused. It took me 3 consultations to understand that it's not that I'm not going deep. That's just what the case is. She wants to build her identity, express herself, but she's confused and does not know how and what to do about it. Okay, they have an opinion, but they don't know if they should voice it or not. And this creates this battle in their mind. They get totally lost in this choice. And when eventually someone helps them to make a decision by suggesting something, they don't even know whether it was their choice or the other person. And this, is a very typical rubric of Illumina. Yeah, or the delusion that she thinks that when she is saying, someone else has said it, because she doesn't know who's really made that decision for her. One of the best things that happened is after a year of the remedy, when she finally discontinued, she said, I can make my decisions, I am much stronger, I can speak well in public. So not only did the urticaria get completely treated, but also that she developed that confidence, and Illumina helped her to reach to that point of confidence. I think there is more, and would we be giving it to them? So it's on the slide, and when you see the recording, you can read it at peace. I would like to go a little faster. Yeah. And this is all there in the book if you have the radar, or if you have our books on the radar software. And yes, I would like to say one more point, that this uncertainty that the Illumina patient comes with can be very irritating to a homeopath. And so often when a patient appears very confused or lost, I often feel like saying, in my mind, of course, I say, you take an Illumina, or if you don't, I will, so that the case goes further. So they can create a kind of an irritation to the homeopath because they don't know what to say, and they're sitting there absolutely confused and lost. Almost feel like they have no opinion of their own. Okay, so this was about the Illumina case and a little bit about our levels. And this was about the minerals, yeah, and the mineral periodic table. We will not go into this right now, but I would like to tell you that on the same 3rd level, we also have plants, yeah, or the 3rd row of the periodic table. We have plants, and we also have animals. And that is why I don't call this periodic table in terms of the minerals, but I just call it as a universal grid of the periodic table. Now, the animals that come in the 3rd row or the 3rd level of human development are a lot of the mammals that are domestic. Yeah, the sheep, the goat, the dog, the pig as well, in the 3rd row of the human development. You have to remember one more thing, that people who have the 3rd row of development or the 3rd row in the periodic table need a lot of love, because remember, the 3rd level is about developing your identity and expressing yourself in the world. And developing an identity needs certain things. Do the people love me? Do I love them? Because love is a way of acceptance. Love is a way of knowing that others love you and accept your identity the way it is. So you often see this even in the rubrics, yeah? And you see this in the Materia Medica. Phosphorus wants to give love, wants to communicate. Magnesium feels like an orphan. He is not loved. Yeah, sulfur, he's not accepted because he's unnecessarily, I would say, expressing himself way too loudly and almost imposing his ideas on the world around. So needing love expressing love, wanting communication, expressing themselves. These are the themes of the third row of the periodic table, or the third level of human development. Another important thing that I would like to tell you is that a lot of people are surviving in the third level of human development. Now, each one of us has a level of human development that we are stuck in, or that we reside in. Yeah. So some people may be stuck with the fifth level of development, some with the sixth, some with the second, third, fourth. And that's the level from which we operate. That's the level from which we see the world. Yeah. And third level of human development is something that you see very common. Now, if you look at it from the materia medica point of view, naturally, natrium, phosphorus, sulfur, magnesium, these are remedies that you use so often in your practice. One of the reasons for that also is that people thrive in this level, or a lot of people live in this level. Because a lot of us have a lot of issues with our childhood, or how we were grown, how we were brought up. Not grown would be the wrong word, how we were brought up. And the third level, because it's about developing our ego and identity, it's also connected to our childhood, because that's where our identities get loved. That's where our identities develop and grow. Yeah. So always remember that a lot of people that you get in amongst your patients may have very strongly the third level of development. I would definitely like to say here that we have, if you go to our website, we have a lot of free webinars that we already have. I'm sure we would be doing many more with Radar, because we want people to know this more. We want to reach out. But we also have some free webinars on our side. I think there is about 30 hours of all this information about the periodic table, about the various levels, and also about connecting mineral, plants, and animals on the same periodic table, and how we have developed, or how this system has evolved. Yeah. So please make use of that, and I'm very sure we'll also come back on the Radar platform, because they are doing a wonderful work, the Radar software. Anahit, I would like to actually thank you for helping us and for hosting this event.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That was a very amazing lecture. Does anybody have questions about the mineral kingdom or about the case? I have a couple questions of my own, but I want you guys to ask any if you have any. Dr. Joshi, was there any indication of the third column? I know the remedy Illumina quite well, so I see how you got to the third level. The third column, do you break it down into columns in your book?
Yes, yes. So in the third level, there are not 18, but there are only 8 columns. Okay. And starting from the left-hand side, yeah, you have always the columns to the left. So basically, when you are within the level, everyone wants to develop, everyone wants their identity. But on the left-hand side, when you start with elements like sodium, magnesium, aluminum, they have absolutely no idea how to develop. In the center are elements which say, okay, I have developed, like silica, for example, I have developed, but I will hold on to whatever I know. And on the right hand side, with phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, are columns which say, I have developed, now I will communicate, now I will express it to the world, I will share what I have to. Do you understand? Now, when you look at this girl, her column is 3, because first of all, she's on the extreme left hand side. because she does not know what to say. She's not in the center. She never tells me, I know what I have and I'm going to stick to it. Nor is she on the right where she says, okay, I can express myself. She is on the left where she does not know. Now, just to very quickly differentiate sodium, magnesium, and aluminum. The third column has the ambiguity. I want to, I know I can, but I don't know how to. I don't know what to say. The second column, magnesium, before aluminum says, I can only say if my mother helps me. I can only say if somebody else helps me. So she never said that I want the help of someone. Do you see that? So sodium and magnesium will openly say, I cannot decide. You please, doctor, let my mom sit with me. She'll be better able to tell you what to say. So that's sodium and magnesium who will openly accept the fact that they don't know. Aluminum is the one where I could see that she doesn't even openly accept, but she also, in a way, doesn't deny it and looks there at me saying, I don't know what to do. So aluminum has just started to speak for themselves, but don't know what to say. And that's the third column in the third row. And yes, you can see that kind of an attitude very often in teenagers, not teenagers, I would say in the 12 to 14, you know, the tween. The tweens is the 12, 13, 14. The teenagers are more silica, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, more rebellious, outward, can express. But this 11, 12, where you're not even totally dependent as a child, where 4, 5, and 6 old children would clearly say, oh, mom's the word. But at 12, 13, 14, you're just, you know, we say in India, we say the horns are just shooting out. You know, you're just getting your horns. Now, but that age, I'm just saying as a metaphor. Here, she is really at 24, but stuck in that stage of 12 to 13. Where she knows she should make her own, but she doesn't know what. And that is the thing she said. I know that I must say, but I don't know what.
Perfect. And then we have a question. Can you expand how the Radar Opus program is used to find a row and column based upon what you are saying? I don't know. Yeah, Sai, I don't know if there's a way to find a row and column based upon the analyzation of radar. Is that correct?
Yes, at the moment not, but we are soon developing a program where you can put in the questions that you've asked your patients and you can put in the answers, and we will be able to tell you which row or which column this is. But if you study the book that is already there on the radar, yeah, the homeopathy and patterns, or if you look at some of our other free webinars, you will know this program in your brain almost. Today, I just explained this in brief as one case. So if you see all those cases, you will know exactly all the columns and rows. For example, I don't use at the moment, I use the repertorization from the program and I use the materia medica. But there is no way by which I can get these columns and rows on repertorization. But that's what the Joshi system is, and that's what is our next step that we are developing.
Perfect, great. That's very, very helpful and good to know. And then another question, will the numbers of Jan Scholten be included in the Joshi program?
So I would say that there is a huge similarity between Jan's numbers and ours. Yes, but there are also some differences. But when you understand our system and program, you could see completely that the levels that we say, for example, you know, the numbers, I don't want to go into it now because that will take another few hours to explain of the entire system, but there is a great similarity. In fact, we have one more book called Ekayan, yeah, and Ekayan was our seminar where we and Jan did a seminar together. in India. We had like about 400-500 people, and we did animals on the periodic table with Sachindra and me, and plants on the periodic table with Jan. And we did it like a 3-day event together. And there's a book we have published on this event.
On this event.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wrote down the book for all of you. Ekayan.
Ekayan means, it's a Sanskrit word, and it means unity, and it means one path.
Perfect. Great.
That's also the name of our trust. We run a charitable trust, and that's the name Ekayan. So that's what we want. Because you know what I personally feel, Anna, is that if it's the truth, if it's a universal truth, it will be the same. It can't be different. If it is from our brains, then each one makes their own intellectual theory. That's not good. And what we have developed, our numbers and our understanding, has come from the patients, meaning it has come clinically. And on retrospect, we realize these were the numbers. So when something is clinical and truth, it has to be similar. And therefore, you will see when you understand our system that the numbers between Jan and us are very similar.
Perfect. Great. No, very, very helpful. Very good. And I wrote down the book for you all to know. Karen says that that's an excellent book, by the way. And then somebody is saying, thank you so much for sharing this information and making your webinars on your website available for people. So I wrote down your website for everybody in the chat room so that they can find your webinars as well. Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And just one more thing, that for all these free webinars, you don't need to put in any login IDs, words, passwords, nothing. Because the idea is we just want to share this information. So it's all out there, totally free. You don't need any, we don't want anything back from you.
Good results.
We just want you to use it, to learn, and to, spread it and have good results in your clinic. That's the book. We've just shared some other books, Anna. So we've shared our mammal book, which is on the mammal remedies of homeopathy, and that's the Ekayan book, which you put up anyways. That's the picture of the book. All these are there on our website.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Really, really good information.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this half an hour.
Yeah. And then now we're moving on to using no-sodes.
Yes.
Yeah, the remedy no-sodes.
Hi there. Actually, if I have to speak about our work, just a continuation of what Bhavisha said. We have been traveling, teaching homeopathy for nearly about 20 odd years. And it began with a lot of excitement of wanting to share what we knew, what cases we had, the successes we had. But as time evolved, we strongly felt the need for community, the homeopathic community, to come together and find threads that connect each other and find similarities rather than dissimilarities, especially in a world which is all kind of coming together against homeopathy. It is time that we see common connections between our work. And that is where all our seminars, our webinars, and efforts are to connect the community. The Ekayan platform and the book that we shared, our whole objective with this platform is to bring people together, bring people from all over the world where we can have differences and connections. We appreciate the differences and we share the connections and we come together. There is a need to have this synchronicity so that the practitioners will be more confident and not lost. And that's what is motivating us to continue with our work. So we come to the second part of today's talk, and that's the no-sodes. Now, no-sodes are very, very interesting. And all along in my practice, maybe before we understood no-sodes and we wrote a book on that, in the earlier times in our practice, we used no source primarily to give when remedies did not work, or when remedies had certain indications and they were partially similar, or maybe to clear a previous remedy, God knows what. And for all of those needs, we used no source, and there were reasonable results. But all along, we thought that no source need to have a lot more, because no source have a lot of energy. They have the disease product, they have the whole fight between the disease and the host. It has a host as well on which the nosode is feeding. It has bacteria, it has viruses. So that nosode is a complex structure. And that complex structure will definitely have its own energy pattern, will have its own dynamism. And if we can understand this dynamism, because we see nosode as a fight or a tiff between health struggle, yeah, between health, healthy and unhealthy. So when there is such a big struggle going on in this zone, yeah, from which the remedy is made, it is bound to be seen in our patients who require that. And while we worked over these thoughts, and we were, the best thing, what we enjoy the most is when these thoughts come to our mind. Eventually somebody, the energy high up there, uh, gets a connection, and it starts sending us certain patients. And basically all our work is come to life through our patients. Yeah, patients are our sources, are the beautiful people who have helped us understand the world. Now, what do we see in a nosode, and how does a nosode case present? I'll share a lovely case with you. And believe me, we have seen nosode cases in people from different parts of the world. This particular case that I want to share with you is of an Australian lady who we saw more than about 10 to 15 years ago. So this lady lives in Australia, and she came to us for depression, suicidal thoughts. Ew, what happened? And she would have these impulses of committing suicide and do something harmful to herself. And along with that, she had severe arthritis. So it all began with arthritis, joint stiffness, inability to move much, and the patient was inbound, not being as active as what she was earlier. And that kind of triggered in the entire depression and the suicidal thought. I said, all right. So to begin with, we always let our patients talk and describe more about it. So she comes from a large family. She was married pretty early. She has 3 children, and she already has grandchildren. Her husband works with the merchant navy, so he's sailing all across the world most of the time, and she's back home in the country. Earlier managing the children, now the children have grown up, so they have gone to their towns and different cities and different parts of the world. So she is practically alone in her hometown. Yeah, and all of that made her feel low. So I could understand a lonely person, somebody who has done a lot of things in her life and crippled with some illness. So this was the premises of the case. So I said, okay, tell me more. That's the best window for me to understand what's happening to her. And she said her joint complaints made it very difficult for her to move or do anything. She enjoyed traveling, she enjoyed meeting people, she enjoyed visiting friends. And on the face of it, when you look at somebody who is laughing, jovial, friendly, and somebody who loves to travel, the first remedy that comes to your mind is, oh, this looks like a phosphorus personality because it's very jovial, very friendly. But everybody who speaks like phosphorus is not necessarily a phosphorus. So how do I know that? So I said, all right, she apparently looked very friendly. So I said, okay. So at this point of time, she is not being able to travel, not being able to meet. I said, how does that make you feel? And she said, not being able to meet people, not being able to interact with people made me feel miserable. And that is making me feel extremely low. I said, okay. She said, my husband travels all around the year. He's out on the ship most of the time. He enjoys there. And what about me? I'm here. I can't travel as much as he does. I cannot sit in a place. My body starts paining. I have this tremendous stiffness in the morning, and moving in that rocking ship is something impossible to take. And that really makes me feel low. I'm all alone sitting in this house. I just feel like ending my life. And I've tried hard to keep my impulses at bay, but sometimes I did get this urge that I need to do something. I said, all right, tell me more. So I tried to understand her whole feeling of behind this whole suicidal thing, not being able to travel. What way was it affecting her? Mm, she said, I can't go out either with this whole complaint. I cannot drive because my hands stiffen. So if I go out for a day, the next day my hands are all stiff, my legs are hurting, and I have to lie down. So I rather sit at home. I cannot meet out. I cannot meet my friends, and I love to have good company. I enjoy interacting with my friends, and I really earn for that. I like to have that all my life. I said, okay, still looks like a phosphorus, like a person who is very friendly, wants to go out, not being able to do that. I said, tell me more. Now, here comes the interesting part in the case. At this point of time, what is important to understand is the drive. It's important to understand the drive behind her to meet people. What is driving her to meet them, interact with them? What is it that she wants? And that goes on in every case of ours, trying to understand why is this expression coming? What is driving it out? And then comes up something interesting. She said, I enjoyed being with people, interacting with them, talking with them, laughing, going to parties. And now that I don't socialize, I have realized that people don't call me and they don't ask for me. I barely receive any phone calls or messages. On social media as well, people don't seem to miss me. What's wrong? What's happening? What's wrong with me that people don't miss me? I said, what's interesting is that people aren't missing and somebody is so friendly, so jovial. What's happening over here? Why is she so sensitive with the fact that people are missing her? I said, describe this a little bit more. And she said, it always happens with me. People are happy to be in connection with me and are friendly when I'm with them. I do all the effort to be a part of the group. I organize parties, I organize functions, food, everything. I do all of that and people come together. That makes me happy. But I personally feel that people aren't really interested to interact with me. They socialize because I take all the effort. Had I not done that, I don't think they would even bother to even call me and inform me like what's happening now. And I like to do that because it helps me, or it rather makes me feel one amongst them. It feels that's the way life should be. And I have this feeling that if I don't keep doing those things, people won't include me as a part of their group. People won't make me part of them. I said, how would that feel when people won't make you a part of their group or people won't connect to you? And she says, I feel unwanted. I feel what's wrong with me that people treat me like this. I don't think that happens with others. No calls, nobody drops in. I just feel abandoned. I said, describe more this abandoned feeling. Where is she? Abandoned, left out. There's surely something wrong with me that people behave like this. I see no life in the future. What's the sense in living? People really don't care about you. I said, all right. So this is where the negativity and the suicidal thoughts are coming down to because there is this no drive, no desire to live because nobody wants to react, interact, nobody wants to talk to her. So I go to the other side. This is where the lower side of a personality was. Always remember, in cases when you keep digging and you reach to a point when you get the extreme of negativity and you dig further, the patient is going to sulk more and more and you might not get any further information, what we often do is ask them, what do they get by, in this particular case, by socializing? What does that make her feel? So you kind of go a level beyond the case by asking things that are extremely opposite. Yeah. So I did that. And I said, how is it to socialize with people? And she says, when I socialize, I'm one amongst them. I'm just like them, a part of the group, part of the people who are interacting with each other, people are talking to you. It just feels that's the way life should be. You should always be connected with people, and life should always be like that because that feels normal. You're just like them. You don't feel singled out, you don't feel different. I said, I said, describe this more. And what came out was this constant need to be with people, to connect with people, because there was a strong feeling that she did not feel that she was like them. She constantly felt that she was different from them. I said, tell me more about that. He said, it makes me feel that people behave like this with me because they don't think I'm like them. I'm something different. And I constantly have this feeling that there is something wrong with me. There is something wrong with me. That's why people behave like this. People don't talk to me. People don't interact with me. And I need to set it right. There is something in me that people don't connect. And once I get that thing addressed, I'm sure I'll be part of them. Once I get this, there is this infective, there is some part in me which is not gelling, which needs to be fixed, which needs to be set right. And once that is done, I'll be one amongst them. I said, this is peculiar. Mm-hmm. And then I made a describe board, and all along, right from her childhood and until her prime time of her life, when she was doing various things in life, there's this constant feeling that whenever something went wrong, her first thought was, there is something wrong in me. It always happens with me, and there is something wrong with me. I need to set it right. There's a constant need for her to correct within herself. I said, okay, how does it feel to have this feeling of there is something wrong with you? Oh, that's horrible. You are out of sync. You are shunned out. You are left out. Nobody wants you. Nobody's there for you. Nobody wants to talk to you. You feel like a diseased product. You feel like you are like this, where people shun you away, and you want to get that thing that is making you like that out of your system so that you can be one amongst them. You can be part of the group. I said, I said, tell me, just stay with this. And she described her entire life in the same manner of feeling something wrong, which needs to be fixed, which needs to be rectified so that she's normal like the rest. Now, this peculiar feature of feeling there is something wrong with me, I need to fit it right. There is some defect in me, I need to repair it, is a strong feature of nosode. It's the most important thing that you will see in nosode. Yeah. Wait a second. Yeah. Something wrong within me, I need to correct it. Nosode long language is the inward looking language, very much like a mineral. But like a mineral, they are fault finding within themselves. But the issue is there is something wrong, I need to rectify it. It's a constant fault finding behavior in nosodes. So what do you do when there is something wrong? You repair yourself, you rectify yourself, you correct yourself so that you can be normal. Now, the epitome of satisfaction for a nosode is to be normal, to be like the rest, because their problem, their complaints makes them different from the rest, and they want to be one amongst the rest. And in this particular case, how did that make her feel? This disease and something wrong with her made her feel? It made her feel abandoned, left out, cast out, shunned. Now, this is her peculiarity. Yeah, this is the peculiarity of a behavior where, because there is something wrong in her, it makes her completely isolated, isolates herself. This behavior makes me select the nosode, the leprominum. It's a very leprous feeling where you feel shunned out, where you feel rejected and not a part of the system. And I selected the remedy leprominum for her. When you go to our book, nosodes and imponderables come alive, and you go to leprominum, you see the exact feeling of leprominum that she had written in this book. And I know that there is a problem within me and that I'm abnormal. Nobody wants me. I'm treated as an outcast. I feel I'm an outcast. I'm so different. I'm so downtrodden, completely low. And this was the remarkable discovery that we understood is the crux of the nosodes 15 years ago. And believe me, with this particular understanding of the nosodes of something wrong in me that needs to be corrected, something defective in me that needs to be repaired, we have completely understood the entire kingdom, and we can understand every nosode through this particular rite. And the way she experienced herself is exactly given in our book. We wrote exactly those things, and our patients nearly talk to Mater Medica, because that is the energy of a disease product where the constant need is to rectify themselves. I gave a leprominum. She got a remedy in the 200 potency, and after the remedy, the result was amazing. The arthritic pain started reducing, but the first and foremost thing to go was a suicidal disposition. Now, leprominum as a has a very strong negative suicidal disposition because it's a very destructive nosode. Oh shit. Am I online?
Yeah, I
Can you
think,
hear me?
yes, I can hear you now. I think it froze a little.
All right, yeah. So I was talking about leprominum as a nosode. Is that leprominum as a nosode has a very, very strong negative connection. It has got a lot of destruction, lot of breaking away, auto destruction, and a very, very strong suicidal disposition. As well, when you look at the leprous feeling of group and people, it's a very important remedy for people who need to be with the group or who need to be associated with groups. And many mammal remedies have a very strong leprous feeling to them. And when you read through the book, you will understand the depth to which these nosodes can be used to help individuals. And there is something very interesting that we have written in this book is the connection between various miasms. Where did that go? Oh, we have seen a strong connection between miasms between acute to psychosis and from psychosis to syphilis. So leprous miasm corresponds a lot to the malarial miasm. Yeah. Typhoid miasm corresponds to the tubercular miasm, the intensity, the pace. And when typhoid gets 2x'd and gets more destruction added to it, it starts resembling the tubercular miasm. So we see a strong connection between and about that. And that's wonderful because you can see similarities, because when you have cases where you can have certain energy patterns and you can see certain miasmatic behavior, you can get confused between what kind of a miasm does this person belong to. And this connection that we have placed between the miasms that we have seen is something that makes prescribing them and using them in your clinical practice far more easy. So you read this book, and I think I have that in the Have I opened that? Yeah. I don't know whether the charts are in this. Anyway, doesn't matter. So you can refer to the book and read more about the nosodes. Always remember, nosodes have this inward-looking, mineral-like language, but the crux of every nosode is rectification, right and wrong. Correction, something wrong, I need to correct it. There is something wrong in my system, I need to repair it. And the epitome of that is normalcy. Normalcy is what they all want in their everyday life. Yeah. So you can use the book, you can use this knowledge base to prescribe nosodes. You need not always think of nosodes as an intercurrent remedy. Nosodes have an energy pattern of their own. This can be seen in other nosodes like syphilinum, sorinum, psychotic, the medorinum. One of the important things that I've seen in nosodes like lepreninum talk about is that patients feel so alone, so isolated. Yeah, that many of our patients who require these nosodes have said that even having a mosquito in the room is company. I feel so alone. Especially the lepreninum nosode. And what is amazing is the amount of isolation and the connection between the malarial miasm and the mosquito and the leprous nosode. You can see how similar they are, how connected they are, and how deep is this sense of isolation. If you have to compare the lepreninum nosode to the periodic table, you can see a lot of remedies to the right hand side of the periodic table correspond with the leprous nosode, with the leprous state. Yeah, remedies in column 16, 17 have a very strong leprous feeling to them. Questions?
Yeah, we have a question. How often was the remedy Lepreninum given to the patient?
Yeah. Now, I gave the remedy in 200C. So when we use 200C, we tend to use it either every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks. In her case, I used it every 4 weeks, and she took that remedy for about 4 to 5 months every month. And that brought about a bigger change. The first dose brought about the change, but the arthritic pains were so strong, she needed every month repetitions by the time the complaints completely stopped. Had it been a higher potency, if I use in a case, a 1M, I wouldn't repeat that for maybe a month or two before I come back to the remedy again. 200C has more repetitions. That's what I gave her.
Perfect. Do you have you seen the same feeling of feeling like the person needs to correct something inside of themselves with carcinosin?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. The beauty of, we have had many cases of carcinosin. Yeah. More than correcting themselves, carcinosin people have this strong feeling that they are always right. They are always clear, and if there is a problem, they always have a solution. They are ready fixes for everything. So you see, the carcinosin nosode or carcinosin personality is so much in charge of itself in its own life that it feels that it can manage every problem on this earth. And that's the attitude in health as well as in disease. We had cases where they knew that they were diseased, but they always had a solution as well to fix it. That's the obsession of a carcinosin and the connection between the nosode language of fixing, correction, and wrong.
Now, in my practice, I use nosodes very miasmatically. You know, like if I see a miasmatic pattern, that's when I use nosodes. Do you kind of use that in the same way? You're using it more as a constitutional.
Yeah. Earlier in practice, we have used nosodes as miasmatic intercurrents when the similar remedy does not work, or maybe patient is with some other homeopathic treatment to use that. But over the past 10 to 12 years, our use of nosodes as intercurrents has drastically gone down because somehow we have seen a strong theme in nosodes. So if I see a nosode like language, I try to dig into it, and if I get even the slightest language of correction and mistake and right and wrong and normal, I would rather give nosode as a deeper remedy than just as a local remedy. But of course, there are a few cases where we have used it as an intercurrent, but the amount is very negligible.
Okay, very, very interesting. Very cool. Do you guys have any other questions about nosodes? I'm very interested in learning about SAR codes. Do you guys have any
Yes.
information that I could reference about SAR codes?
I think we did write about sarcodes in our book, Bhavisha. In the book we have briefly mentioned it.
Briefly, no.
Yeah.
Sarcodes are, we have mentioned some sarcodes as well. Yes, we've mentioned testosterone.
I can kind of hear you. Do you want to put?
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
now I can.
So we have briefly mentioned sarcodes, and we have also mentioned the difference between a nosode and a sarcode personality. Yeah, so there are quite a few sarcode cases, like humanum also is there in this book. Yeah, so yes, there are sarcodes mentioned in the nosode book.
Okay.
As well as how will you differentiate between a nosode personality and a sarcode personality, and some specific sarcode, I think, cases as well are there.
Okay, perfect.
And of course, there are imponderables in this book as well, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I have a lot of reading to do now. Okay. Okay, great. So again, I'm gonna put your website up again so that people can reach you and watch your free webinars, free lectures.
Yes, and Anna, we would like to say one more very important thing, especially for our American homeopaths who are listening. We will be coming to Hudson, to New York, in April next year. I think it's the first week of May, first weekend of May. Yeah, sorry. We will, yes, April 30th to the 3rd of May, 4 days. This is our annual event in Hudson, New York. And we will be there, and we'll do a full 4-day event on on our work, on our system, more things on the periodic table. So people are very welcome to come there. They can also do it on a webinar. This seminar is also available. The seminar in Hudson is also available as a webinar. And a lot of people all across the world, United States, Canada, they do it as a webinar. New
And
Zealand.
and where can people sign up for this? Where should they go?
Sorry?
Where can people sign up if they want to go to the
Okay,
conference?
they have to, if you can put our website, Anna.
Okay.
Our website has the details of the two organizers. It's called the the Stellar Seminars, and Marina Braun and Sonam Kushner. They do this, and so they can get in touch with them. If you just, that's our website that I'm sharing right now with you. On our website is our seminar list. So if they go to the seminar page, they will get our the website, the web link, where they can go and get all the information for this event, and also sign up and pay up for this event, etc., etc.
Okay, perfect. And then we have a question that there is a lot of, in your two cases, there is a lot of emphasis on the mental and emotional symptoms.
Yes.
And then do you take in the totality of symptoms, like the physical symptoms? And with the Illumina case, there was, you were looking at the Allen's definition of Illumina had a lot of the same skin symptoms, so it definitely did match up. With the no-sode case, was there any physical symptoms that you saw that you were able to repertorize that pointed to leprosy?
I would say not really with the nosode case, but with the, so let me put it like this. The understanding of the people and putting things on the map of the materia medica that we have in our system is a lot based on the emotional or the, I would say the personality of the patients, okay? But yes, that's not the only bit. We will look at physical symptoms. Yeah. So even in our books, you will find a lot of physical symptoms for every remedy. However, there are so many new remedies that are not very well proved. So in those cases, you may not find a lot of physical symptoms. But that is the other thing that Sachin and I are doing, is that clinically we are verifying which are the cases and what are the symptoms that we have used them for. And if we get to gather these and if we find some common symptoms, then we add it to the remedy.
Perfect.
So we will look, we do look at physical symptoms, like as you saw in the Illumina, yeah, the skin symptoms were clearly there. But in this Lepreninum woman, those symptoms were not necessarily there, but she had the personality of a Lepreninum. And when that matches, we go with the mental picture, because as Hademan had also said, yeah, the miasm and the mental picture are more deeper.
Perfect. Great. And then Martha is saying that to ask you about your monthly tonic. So
just give me 1
share.
second, Anna.
Okay.
Just 1 second. So this was in relation to the previous question. If you can see this, can you see this this page that I have put up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that Stella seminar and the email IDs and the contacts of our seminar organizers in Hudson, New York.
Perfect.
Of course,
Okay,
we
great.
come in Europe and we come to Romania and England and Belgium and, you know, all the places as well. And Germany, Austria, everywhere. We can send you the list of all the various events.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, sorry. And what was that second question?
Yeah, somebody mentioned your monthly tonic. I don't know what that is.
Yes. So our monthly tonic is a webinar that we do once a month. In fact, the next one we have for November is next week. Oh, sorry, not next week, but on the 22nd of November. So once a month, and it's a Friday that we choose, and it's exactly the same platform, the Zoom platform where we do this event. And there are people, we have homeopaths from all across the world, where we send a case to work on beforehand, and people work on this case and they come up with their solutions, and we spend like a good 2.5 hours on the Friday evening. I mean, it's Friday evening in India, but it's usually Friday afternoon or morning in the rest of the world. And we explain the entire analysis of that case, the follow-up, and of course, through that case, a lot of the materia medica. But that we call it a monthly tonic because it's like an every month booster dose of not just materia medica, but much more the philosophy, how to take a case, how to understand and analyze. So it's about the entire case taking and everything, and the materia medica and philosophy and the whole system. And we have and the recordings, so it's also recorded, and then it's all the recordings are sent, so people can watch and rewatch the entire 2.5 hours that we do online. And people do that, you know, they are there online so that they can ask their questions and everything, and then they even watch it as many times as they want. That's our monthly tonic.
Great. That's a really great resource. Thank you both for doing that.